The stars shimmered like cold fire as the largest fleet in galactic history arrived at the edge of the solar system. To any observer watching from Pluto's orbit, it would have looked like a storm made of metal, 500 Vorthak warships gliding in perfect formation. Each one was a floating fortress, dark gray and bristling with weaponry capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten glass. The lead ship, the Eternal Dominion, dwarfed even the largest of its companions, a 3-mile-long behemoth carrying the Emperor of the Vorthak Empire himself, Vexthal the Unyielding. For 3,000 years, the Vorthak had ruled the stars through fire and fear. They had crushed empires, enslaved entire species, and burned countless worlds into submission. And now, they had come for the newest, smallest voice in the galactic chorus, Earth. The humans had resisted them once. That single act of defiance had humiliated the Empire before the watching galaxy. Vexthal had sworn that insult would be repaid in blood and ruin. Now he stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by officers who dared not breathe too loudly in his presence. His skin was dark silver, ridged with scales that shimmered faintly under the warship's lighting. His 4 eyes glowed with a deep crimson hue, each one capable of seeing across multiple spectrums of light. He stared at the holographic projection of Earth, a fragile blue orb floating in blackness. "Such a delicate thing," he said softly, almost with amusement. "So small, so beautiful, and so foolish." His first commander, Krexel, lowered his head. "Shall we begin planetary subjugation, Majesty?" Vexthal's claws clicked against the armrest of his throne. "Not yet. I want to see these humans. I want to look into the eyes of the creatures who dared defy my empire. Bring up all available transmissions from their networks. I wish to understand what gives them such confidence." The holographic display shifted, thousands of human images flickered across it. Cities glowing with light, children laughing, oceans rolling under golden sunlight, and then wars, protests, tears. Vexthal's mouth curled into what might have been a smile. So much passion, so much chaos, a race that destroys itself as much as it creates. He turned to Krexel. "This will not be conquest, this will be correction. These little beasts must learn their place in the order of the galaxy." Far away, hidden deep within the asteroid belt, a human watched the same blue planet, but with very different eyes. Admiral Sangho of the Earth Defense Coalition sat inside his command ship, the EDS Dihan, surrounded by a dozen officers monitoring holographic feeds. Every display showed movement, alien ships arriving, forming lines, calibrating weapons. The scale was overwhelming. The Vorthak fleet looked like a wall of death stretching from horizon to horizon. One officer muttered under his breath, 500 confirmed vessels, that's 10 times our entire navy." Sangho didn't reply. He was calm, too calm. His dark eyes reflected the holographic light, his posture controlled, but his hands were steady. He'd been waiting for this day for 12 years. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "all major stations report readiness. Lunar Command, orbital platforms, deep core stations, all green. The moment you give the signal, Operation Apex goes live." Sangho nodded slowly. "Then we wait for them to make the first move." He stood, hands clasped behind his back, and looked out the viewport. The stars glowed faintly beyond the reinforced glass. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak ships were moving closer, arrogant and confident, believing they were descending upon helpless prey. They had no idea. Operation Apex had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. Officially, Earth's defense network was made up of outdated orbital guns, a few small fleets, and planetary shields barely capable of deflecting meteor strikes. That was the image humanity had cultivated, the mask of weakness. In truth, everything the Vorthak saw was a lie. Beneath the moon's surface lay shipyards that had produced vessels the size of small cities. In the asteroid belt, mining stations were in fact orbital artillery platforms capable of precision strikes from millions of kilometers away. And hidden within the upper layers of Jupiter's atmosphere, entire fleets waited in silence, their engines cold, their hulls coated in radar-absorbing nanomaterials. Sangho's voice broke the silence of the bridge. "All stations, this is Fleet Command. Confirm readiness for Operation Apex. No transmissions after this point. If they jam our communications, you already know your objectives." He paused, his eyes narrowing as he watched the alien fleet inch closer. "It's time to show them what apex predators look like when we stop holding back." On Earth's surface, Major Kim Min stood atop the tallest building in Seoul, staring at the night sky. The air was electric, heavy with anticipation and dread. Above, faint glimmers marked the movement of alien ships entering orbit. Beside him, Lieutenant Yejin adjusted her tactical visor. "They're here," she said quietly. "The scanners show dropships preparing to enter the atmosphere." Kim didn't flinch. He'd seen war before, small ones, human ones, but this was different. This was a war for the species itself. "Activate all ground units," he ordered. "Tell them to hold position, no open engagement until the first strike." Across the planet, hidden bunkers and underground bases came to life. Soldiers, drones, and mechanized units powered up in silence. Cities that appeared empty were in fact traps. Every street, every skyscraper, every sewer entrance rigged with hidden defenses. Kim's radio buzzed. "Major, this is Colonel Jae Hyun. All units are ready." "Good," Kim replied. "Let's make them believe we're afraid. The moment they relax, we hit them where it hurts." He looked up again at the stars. Somewhere beyond that black sky, hundreds of alien ships were preparing to descend. "For 3 months," he whispered, "we've played the victims. Tonight we stop pretending." In orbit, one of the Vorthak cruisers drifted closer to the moon. Its scanners swept across the surface, recording data in streams of alien code. "No major military presence detected," the sensor officer reported. "Primitive satellites, a few small defense stations, nothing significant." Krexel grunted in satisfaction. "They truly are children." But as the cruiser passed over the moon's southern pole, its scanners briefly flickered. A faint energy reading, gone in less than a second. The sensor officer frowned. "Strange, I'm picking up something odd beneath the lunar surface." Before he could finish, the signal vanished. "It's gone, might have been a geological anomaly." "Then ignore it," Krexel ordered. "Prepare the landing divisions. I want boots on their capital cities within the hour." He turned to his emperor. "Majesty, all systems are operational. We can begin the conquest at your command." Vexthal nodded slowly. "Proceed, show them the mercy of the Empire." Moments later, dozens of alien shuttles plunged through Earth's atmosphere. The skies over New York, Seoul, London, and Tokyo filled with fire as the ships descended like falling stars. People around the world looked up, some in awe, some in terror. News broadcasts flickered. Governments issued warnings, but it was too late for panic. The first Vorthak landing units touched down in empty streets. Their scanners showed abandoned cities. No signs of resistance. Commander Crackson, leading one of the landing forces, stepped out of his shuttle and gazed at the silent city. "They have fled," he said, his voice echoing inside his helmet. "Pathetic." "Orders, sir?" asked his lieutenant. "Secure the area. Establish control centers. Begin atmospheric recalibration." The aliens began deploying massive pylons that would slowly alter the air composition to match Vorthak physiology. The process would take hours, long enough for them to believe victory was already theirs. Crackson looked up at the alien sun and smiled. "You see, Majesty, the Terrans submit without a fight." Then the ground beneath him shuddered. For a brief moment he thought it was an earthquake, until the street cracked open and a swarm of drones erupted from the shadows below. Sleek, black, and fast as arrows, they tore through the Vorthak formation before anyone could react. Gunfire, explosions, screams. Crackson spun around, his calm filled with chaos. "Who fired that? Where did they come from?" Then a voice came over every open frequency, calm, human, and terrifyingly controlled. "This is Fleet Command," it said. "Operation Apex is now active." And above Earth, the night sky exploded with light. The orbital platforms, once disguised as communication satellites, unfolded like mechanical flowers, revealing hidden weapons arrays. Beams of white light lanced through space, striking the first line of Vorthak ships. In the asteroid belt, hidden bases powered up massive rail cannons. On the moon, enormous panels slid aside, revealing the true form of the facility buried beneath, not a research station, but a battleship. The EDS Incheon rose from the lunar dust, its engines igniting with the power of a small sun. Admiral Sangho watched it all unfold from the Dihin, his expression unreadable. "Phase 1 complete," he said quietly. "Now, let's see how they handle predators." As the Vorthak fleet reels in shock from the sudden counterattack, Emperor Vexthul rises from his throne. "Contact every ship," he growls. "Find out what just happened." The reply comes seconds later, trembling, disbelieving. "Majesty, they were waiting for us." The smoke of burning ships drifted across the upper atmosphere like storm clouds made of metal. The Vorthak fleet, once a perfect wall of discipline and formation, was in chaos. Hundreds of ships had lost communication with the command network, and their carefully synchronized advance was now dissolving into scattered confusion. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Vexthul's 4 crimson eyes burned as reports flooded in. "Multiple ships destroyed in the first volley," said Krexel, his voice trembling. "Unknown weapon signatures, Majesty. They came from civilian satellites, asteroid facilities, and the moon itself." The moon, Vexthul's claws clenched on the armrest of his throne, leaving deep gouges in the metal. "Explain." Krexel hesitated. "It appears the humans have been hiding entire fleets beneath the surface. The energy readings match military engines." The Emperor rose, his towering frame casting a long shadow over the command deck. "They were waiting," he hissed. "They knew we were coming." The bridge fell silent. None of his officers dared to speak. Outside, the Emperor's massive flagship drifted through the wreckage of what had been his vanguard, its armor plates reflecting the glow of burning debris. "They have baited the hunters," Vexthul said softly, almost admiringly. "How human." He turned toward the view screen where Earth hung in the distance, blue, bright, and defiant. "Send ground reinforcements immediately. I want those cities secured. Burn everything that resists." "Yes, Majesty," Krexel replied. In the ruins of downtown Seoul, Major Kim Min watched the alien landing craft erupt into flames as hidden artillery systems came online. What had once been skyscrapers now became ambush zones. Windows shattered, concrete fell, and alien screams echoed through the streets. His comms buzzed with overlapping chatter. Enemy troops attempting to regroup near District 12, drone swarms moving in. "Copy," Kim said. "Engage them from rooftops, keep mobility high, don't give them time to adapt." A distant explosion shook the street. The humans had been waiting for this exact moment to reveal what months of careful preparation had built. Kim's platoon advanced through alleyways that had been reinforced with energy traps and automated turrets disguised as streetlights. The first Vorthak squads that tried to advance were torn apart in seconds. "Sir," shouted Lieutenant Yajin, crouching beside him behind a collapsed wall. "They're trying to push through our western perimeter. Looks like armored walkers." Kim peeked over the rubble. Massive, 6-legged machines stomped through the smoke, their plasma cannons glowing blue. He smiled grimly. "About time." He activated his wristpad. "Activate the nets." Within seconds, a wave of electromagnetic pulses burst from the rooftops. The alien walkers froze mid-step as every circuit inside them overloaded. One by one, they collapsed, their metal frames hissing with steam. "Target neutralized," Yajin reported. Kim stood up, brushing dust from his armor. "They thought they were hunters. Let's show them what predators look like." Across the ocean, similar scenes played out in every major city. In New York, human soldiers struck from the shadows of subway tunnels, guided by infrared overlays that turned the dark into daylight. In London, civilians armed with drone-guided rifles hunted Vorthak patrols from rooftops, coordinated by a single AI named Watcher 3, which had been secretly built into the city's emergency system years ago. In Mumbai, entire neighborhoods collapsed at once as hidden demolition charges buried alien armor units under mountains of rubble. And above it all, orbiting silently at the edge of space, the EDS Dehan tracked every engagement. "Admiral," said Commander Bora, her voice steady despite the chaos, "our ground forces are reporting success in 37 major cities, civilian casualties minimal, alien forces disorganized." Admiral Sangho nodded, eyes fixed on the tactical hologram. "Good, keep it that way. The longer they think we're reacting, the more they'll underestimate what's coming next." Bora hesitated. "Sir, the Emperor himself has deployed. He's commanding from orbit." Sangho's jaw tightened. "Then he'll see what happens when we stop pretending to be prey." In orbit, the Vorthak ships tried to regroup. Thousands of fighters launched from hangar bays, spreading out like locusts. Their orders were clear: annihilate anything emitting a human signal. They never got the chance. From the shadows of Saturn's rings, something massive emerged, the EDS Guangzhou, a stealth destroyer equipped with optical camouflage so advanced it was invisible even to most human sensors. Its captain, Yuri Han, leaned over her console with a calm smile. "Targeting solutions locked," said her weapons officer. "Fire." Invisible rail slugs tore through space faster than light could reflect off them. 3 alien cruisers vanished in blinding white explosions. The Vorthak fighters swarmed in response, only to find empty space. The destroyer had already moved. Yuri's voice was steady, almost casual. "Persistence hunting, people. We strike, we move, we strike again. No patterns, no mercy." Her fleet of 12 stealth ships followed her lead, the first coordinated wolf-pack attack humanity had ever launched in deep space. The aliens fired wildly into the void, their sensors useless against ships that reflected no heat, no sound, no light. Each time the Vorthak thought they had cornered an enemy, they were ambushed from behind. And every time, the last sound they heard before their ship was torn apart was the faint, distorted voice of a human. "You thought we were prey." On Earth, in the underground command center beneath Seoul, Dr. Haiwan watched the chaos unfold on her monitors. She wasn't a soldier, she was a psychologist. Her job wasn't to kill the enemy, but to understand them, and what she saw fascinated her. "Their communications are breaking down," she told Kim Min. "Their command hierarchy is collapsing. They're used to fighting with absolute control, not this kind of confusion." Kim nodded, loading another magazine into his rifle. "They're soldiers who think like kings. We're animals who learn to use tools." Haiwan looked at him. "You make that sound like a good thing." "It is," Kim said simply, "because tools evolve." She studied the intercepted transmissions again, her eyes narrowing. "They keep using the same word when describing us. Unpredictable. It scares them." Kim smiled grimly. "Good, that's the point." Hours later, as the Vorthak attempted to regroup their ground units, something unexpected happened: silence. Across multiple battle zones, human forces withdrew all at once, vanishing into tunnels and ruins. The aliens, confused, advanced cautiously, scanning every corner. Then the city lights went out. The entire planet's electrical grid shut down, plunging every urban center into darkness. For the Vorthak, whose sensors relied heavily on active energy fields, it was as if the world itself had disappeared. Then came the whispers. Over their comms, alien soldiers began hearing faint human voices. Some were laughing, some were humming, some whispered words in languages the Vorthak couldn't translate. Panic spread through the ranks. One commander shouted, "They're everywhere. I can hear them inside my helmet." That was when the humans struck again, from the rooftops, from sewers, from walls that weren't walls at all but disguised hatches. It was no longer a war, it was a hunt. In the command bunker, Kim Min monitored the chaos. "They're falling apart," he said, watching alien units firing at shadows. "They can't fight what they can't see." Haiwan turned to him. "Major, what happens when their reinforcements arrive? They won't make the same mistake twice." Kim didn't look away from the screens. "Then we'll teach them something new to fear." The radio crackled. A voice came through, faint and broken. "This is Lieutenant Park. We've captured a Vorthak officer, high rank." "Bring him in," Kim ordered. Minutes later, 2 soldiers dragged the alien commander into the room. He was wounded but alive, his silver scales scorched and blackened. His eyes glowed faintly red even through the pain. Kim crouched in front of him. "Tell me something, Commander. Why did you come here? Why now?" The alien spat a word that didn't translate, but Dr. Haiwan interpreted the rest. "He says they came because they thought we were adorable. He says the Emperor wanted us as pets." Kim stared at the alien for a long moment, then laughed softly. "Well," he said, standing, "I hope the Emperor enjoys getting bitten." Haiwan leaned closer to the prisoner. "You've lost control down there. Your fleet's breaking apart. How long before your Emperor realizes he's the one being hunted?" The alien's breathing grew heavy. "You don't understand," he rasped. "This is not the whole fleet." Kim froze. "What?" The alien lifted his head, his eyes full of something humans had never seen from his kind before: fear. "You have no idea," he whispered. "The Emperor is bringing the entire Imperial fleet." Dr. Haiwan stared at the prisoner in shock. Kim Min turned toward the holographic map as new signals began appearing across the outer solar system. Thousands of new contacts, each one a warship. Admiral Sangho's voice came through the comm, quiet but steady. Phase 2 begins. The storm's not over, it's just starting. The cold silence of space broke under a wave of light. Thousands of Vorthak ships erupted from hyperspace like spears of fire, forming a wall that stretched across the black expanse between Mars and Jupiter. The second fleet had arrived. 500 additional warships, each the size of a city. Dozens of carrier platforms, dreadnoughts, and siege engines designed to crack planetary crusts. The combined power of the Vorthak armada now filled every scanner across the solar system. The stars themselves seemed to dim under the weight of their presence. Inside the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Vexthal stood before the grand viewport, his reflection shimmering in the glass. The new ships formed up around his flagship, their engines burning with blue fire. "Two fleets united," he said softly. 1,000 ships against one small world. No force in the galaxy can stand before us now. First Commander Krexel bowed low. "Majesty, the humans have fought fiercely. They ambushed our landing troops, sabotaged our sensors, and disrupted communications. Their tactics are unconventional." Vexthal's crimson eyes narrowed. "They are animals with sharp claws, but animals nonetheless." He turned to his tactical officer. "Bring every fleet into coordinated formation. I want complete saturation bombardment protocols ready within the hour. We will burn their defenses from orbit before setting foot on their soil again." "Yes, Majesty." As Krexel relayed the command, the Emperor placed a clawed hand against the viewport. "Let the galaxy watch," he murmured. "Let them see what happens when vermin defy gods." Far beyond the Emperor's awareness, hidden in the asteroid belt, the EDS Dehan floated in the shadows. Its camouflage plating blended seamlessly with the surrounding rock, invisible to all known scanners. Admiral Sangho stood in the command chamber, his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the holographic display of the incoming fleet. The map was filled with red. Commander Bora broke the silence. "That's the entire Imperial fleet. They've committed everything, sir." Sangho's expression didn't change. "Good, that means they're desperate." Bora frowned. "Desperate? Admiral, they have enough firepower to vaporize every planet from here to Neptune." "Exactly," Sangho said. "Which means they expect to win quickly. The longer this drags on, the more it favors us." He gestured to the display. "They're used to fighting wars of domination, fast, overwhelming, brutal, but we're not playing their game. We're going to drag them into ours." "Sir," Bora asked cautiously, "the Allied fleets, are they ready?" Sangho nodded slowly. "They will be." Minutes later, encrypted transmissions spread across deep space, bouncing through channels the Vorthak couldn't detect. The messages carried one name: Operation Apex, Phase 2. Across distant stars, worlds once enslaved by the Empire received the signal. On the aquatic planet Calarian, massive crystalline ships rose from beneath the ocean's surface, shimmering as water cascaded from their hulls. The Calari had lived in servitude for centuries, their peaceful nature exploited by the Vorthak, their technology stolen. But now their fleets turned toward the stars. On the frozen world of Zektara, insected colonies stirred from hibernation. The Zakti, once forced to mine resources for their overlords, activated their swarm ships. In the glowing nebula of Luma Prime, energy-based beings known as the Lumens gathered their fleets, vessels of pure light that could bend around visibility itself. One by one, the enslaved races rose to answer humanity's call. Commander Na Young watched the Alliance form from her post aboard the EDS Sol, a sleek carrier hidden near Neptune's shadow. She was a young officer, too young by traditional standards, but her calm resolve and sharp instincts had earned her the trust of the fleet command. Now she stood on her bridge as holographic images of alien leaders filled the room. The Calari ambassador, a tall aquatic figure encased in a shimmering pressure suit, spoke first. "You humans, we thought you were reckless. Now we see you are fearless. Your defiance has awakened hope in us." Na Young smiled faintly. "Hope is just another word for courage you haven't tested yet." The Zakti representative, his chitinous body reflecting light in hundreds of colors, leaned forward. "You offer rebellion, we offer vengeance." Na Young nodded. Vengeance is acceptable so long as it's aimed in the right direction. The lumen projection pulsed with soft golden light. Your species burns bright, human, too bright. The Empire will try to extinguish you. Then they'll find, Na Young said, her voice calm and cold, that fire doesn't go out easily on our world. A long silence followed. Then one by one, the Allied leaders gave their answer. The Kaleri fleet will fight. The Zakti swarm joins your hunt. The Lumens stand beside humanity. Na Young's chest tightened with emotion as she transmitted the confirmation to Earth Command. Admiral Sangho, this is Commander Na Young. The Alliance has been secured. The galaxy is with us. Deep under Earth's crust, in the hidden global command bunker, Colonel J. Hyun studied the data feeds pouring in from every battlefront. Humanity was not fighting alone anymore. Alien fleets once divided by fear and slavery were now coordinating strikes under human leadership. Tactical data, resource maps, and weapon frequencies flowed through encrypted human-designed systems. "Sir," said a communications officer, "the Zakti swarms are engaging the outer Vorthak line near Mars. Kaleri ships are using their phase drives to bypass their flanks." Jay nodded, tapping a command panel. "Patch me through to all Allied commanders." Seconds later, dozens of holographic faces, human and alien, filled the bunker. "This is Colonel J. Hyun, Earth Defense Coalition. Listen carefully," he began. "The Vorthak are stronger than all of us combined, but they are predictable. They've never faced enemies who trust each other. That's our advantage." He pointed to the holographic map showing the solar system. "We'll use the same strategy humans used to hunt apex predators on Earth: exhaustion, deception, and coordination. Every ship becomes part of the chase. Every strike weakens the herd. And when the moment comes, we kill the alpha." The aliens exchanged uncertain glances, but his words carried weight. A Lumen commander pulsed bright. "You would lead us against the Emperor himself." Jay smiled faintly. "I'm not leading you to die, I'm leading you to live free." Meanwhile, in orbit above Earth, Dr. Haiwan analyzed the latest intelligence reports. Her voice was calm, but her words sent chills through the command center. "The Emperor doesn't understand us," she said. "He thinks this war is about territory, but to us it's about identity. He's not fighting an army, he's fighting a species that refuses to kneel." Major Kim Min crossed his arms. "He'll learn." Haiwan turned toward him. "That's what he's afraid of. Look at their internal chatter. His generals are already arguing. Some think humans are using sorcery. Others believe we're not even organic." Kim smirked. "Maybe we shouldn't tell them the truth yet." In the depths of space, as the battle lines began to form, the galaxy watched. Every major civilization, some neutral, some terrified, observed the unfolding war. Human signals, broadcast across secure channels, carried a message to the stars. "To those who think us weak, watch and learn. The age of fear is over. The age of persistence has begun." It was a message that would echo through history. Admiral Sangho stood before his command crew aboard the Dihen, the glow of the tactical display illuminating his face. "All fleets stand by for Phase 2, he ordered. "Allied units will engage in coordinated assault patterns. Our objective isn't victory, it's endurance. Make them believe they're winning until they've already lost." "Sir," Bora said softly, "what if we fail?" Sangho turned to her, eyes hard. "Then we make sure they remember why failure doesn't exist in our species." Near Jupiter's orbit, the first contact between the Allied fleet and the Vorthak armada began. The sky erupted in fire. Zakti swarm ships darted between colossal Vorthak dreadnoughts, slashing through armor with particle beams. Kaleri vessels phased in and out of existence, striking from impossible angles. Lumen cruisers turned invisible, projecting false sensor echoes that confused the enemy's targeting systems. And through it all, humanity coordinated the chaos. Human command ships transmitted data to every Allied vessel, optimizing angles, energy use, and strike timing. Each alien fleet, once separate and divided, now fought as one under human coordination. For the first time in galactic history, the Empire found itself outmaneuvered by the inferior species it had mocked. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Krexel's voice cracked as he shouted updates. "We're losing formation. The Zacti swarms have breached our forward lines, Calari vessels appearing within the fleet, Lumen ships interfering with sensors. Vexthal's voice was low and dangerous. How? No idea, Majesty. They move as if they can read our every command. Vexthal turned toward his advisors, his voice booming. How can this be? They are slaves, rabble, they cannot. Then his screen flickered. A new signal was overriding all frequencies, a human transmission. Commander Na Young appeared on the display, calm and resolute. Emperor Vexthal, she said, I bring you a message from humanity. The Emperor's claws clenched. You dare address me? Yes, Na Young said, because the galaxy deserves to hear this. You enslaved these species for centuries. You taught them fear. We taught them hope. And today they stand as your equals because we showed them what freedom looks like. Her eyes hardened. You saw our kindness and mistook it for weakness. You were wrong. The communication feed crackled with static as Na Young's transmission reached every corner of the battlefield. For the first time, the mighty Vorthak fleet hesitated, thousands of ships pausing mid-formation. Then the sensors screamed, thousands of new human ships decloaking around Earth's orbit. Fleet Admiral Sangho whispered, Phase 3, the apex unleashed. The solar system burned. Across the black void, the Vorthak armada unleashed everything it had, plasma torpedoes, fusion lances, planet-cracking rail rounds, turning the space between Mars and Earth into a storm of light and death. Yet even as the explosions flared, human and allied ships were no longer where the enemy thought they were. They had vanished. From the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Vexthal stared at the tactical map in disbelief. Thousands of enemy contacts had disappeared from every sensor. Krexel, his first commander, slammed his claws on the control terminal. Our readings are blind. It's as if the entire human fleet just evaporated. Evaporated, the Emperor growled. Find them. Majesty, every wavelength, every scan frequency, it's all interference. They've jammed the network using. He stopped, his eyes widened. They're using our own sensor code. Vexthal turned sharply, his four eyes narrowing to slits. Explain. They've replicated our scanning signature, Krexel said in disbelief. They're sending false reflections across the battlefield. Every one of them looks like a Vorthak ship. We can't tell which are ours and which are theirs. The Emperor's expression froze. They've stolen our sight. And that was when the first human strike began. From behind the dark side of the moon, the EDS Incheon emerged like a waking giant. Its vast hull gleamed with blue energy as its engines roared to life. Hidden for months beneath lunar regolith and false mining scaffolds, it had never been seen by alien eyes. On its bridge, Fleet Admiral Minyu stood before his crew. Target the command links, he ordered calmly. Not their ships, their eyes and ears, cut the head off the serpent. Coordinates locked, his weapons officer confirmed. Fire! The Incheon's main guns thundered, sending lances of ionized plasma through the void. Each shot ripped through Vorthak communication relays, disabling long-range command systems. The alien formation dissolved into chaos as ships began colliding, firing wildly into the dark, blind and deaf. Admiral Minyu watched the devastation unfold, his face grim but focused. This is how you fight an empire, he murmured. Not by killing its soldiers, but by shattering its illusion of control. In Earth orbit, hundreds of hidden satellites, once disguised as weather sensors, came online simultaneously. Their false civilian identities flickered away, revealing sleek black cores that glowed with weapon power. Operation Apex, Phase 3 had begun. Dozens of orbital bombardment platforms aligned in perfect synchronization. From above, they appeared as small flickers of light until they fired. Beams of pure white energy sliced through the Vorthak landing zones on the planet below. In Seoul, Major Kim Min and Lieutenant Yejin watched from their underground bunker as the night sky lit up. The alien ships that had loomed over the city moments ago were now fireballs, tumbling toward the ground. Command reports orbital control restored, Yejin said, grinning for the first time in days. Kim nodded. Good, then let's push them back into orbit where they'll find out it's worse. Above Earth, the true shape of humanity's strength revealed itself. Civilian freighters morphed into missile carriers. Mining stations turned out to be planetary defense hubs, and from every dark corner of the solar system, ships began decloaking, not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands. The galaxy had believed Earth's population was too small, too fractured to build such an armada. But humanity had never stopped building. For decades, under the guise of exploration and trade, they had constructed an invisible fortress around their home. The Vorthak fleet now found itself surrounded on all sides, Earth below, the moon's guns behind, human and allied fleets flanking from every angle. From her command seat aboard the EDS Sol, Commander Na Young transmitted on all open channels. "This is Commander Na Young of the Earth Defense Coalition," she said, her voice steady and clear. "To all enemy vessels, you are surrounded. Surrender your weapons and retreat immediately. You are no longer the hunters in this system." The reply came instantly, the Emperor himself. "You dare address me, child?" Vexthal's voice boomed across the frequency, deep and venomous. "I command an empire of 10,000 worlds. You command nothing but chaos." Na Young smiled faintly. "Chaos," she said softly, "is just order you haven't learned to understand yet." Vexthal's eyes blazed. "Then understand this, your planet will burn until nothing remains." He gestured sharply, and the Eternal Dominion unleashed a barrage of plasma bursts. Each one was large enough to vaporize a city. They streaked toward Earth like falling suns. Na Young didn't flinch. Phase 4, shield line engage. A split second later, a grid of blue light flashed into existence above the planet, the planetary shield network, powered by orbital fusion batteries. The alien fire slammed into the barrier with enough force to turn night into day, but the shields held. The energy rippled across the atmosphere in waves of aurora, painting the sky with color as the entire world watched live broadcasts of their planet's defense. For the first time in human history, the people of Earth saw their species fight not for dominance, but for survival and win. In orbit near Mars, Captain Yuri Han's stealth squadron was preparing for its next strike. The EDS, Guangzhou, and 11 sister ships moved through the debris fields like shadows in fog. Her voice came over the comm, calm and precise. "Targets designated. Command relays, engine cores, ammunition bays. Remember, we don't fight fair, we fight smart." Her ships dove into the fray. They struck from behind, crippled engines, and vanished again before the Vorthak could react. One by one, alien cruisers exploded in silent bursts of light. Her weapons officer smiled grimly. "They're firing on each other, Captain. They think we're among them." Yuri nodded. "Good, let them drown in their own arrogance." She activated fleet-wide transmission. "Wolfpack formation Delta 3, the hunt continues." The stealth destroyers fanned out, their attacks perfectly timed, their efficiency terrifying. To the Vorthak, it felt as if invisible ghosts were tearing their fleet apart. On the Dihan, Admiral Sangho monitored the collapsing enemy formations. Commander Bora whispered, "Sir, reports are coming in from every sector the Vorthak are losing ground. Entire squadrons retreating toward the outer planets." Sangho's eyes remained fixed on the display. "Not retreating," he said. "Regrouping. The Emperor's not done yet. He'll consolidate his remaining forces and strike back harder." "Then what do? "We make him afraid to move." He tapped a sequence into the command console. "Deploy Black Wing." Bora hesitated. "Sir, that's untested." "So are we," Sangho said. Moments later, a ripple of dark energy spread across the battlefield. Hundreds of small drones detached from hidden platforms, forming a lattice of shifting magnetic fields. To enemy sensors, they appeared as a mirror image of the human fleet. Everywhere the Vorthak looked, they saw duplicates, phantom ships, false energy signatures, ghost weapons. Their fleet panicked, firing at illusions while the real human vessels maneuvered unseen. On the Emperor's bridge, Krexel's voice broke in terror. "Majesty, our targeting systems, they're reading 10,000 human ships. It's impossible." Vexthal roared, his voice echoing through the deck. "They mock us, fire at everything." His dreadnoughts unleashed wild salvos in every direction, destroying friend and foe alike. The once-proud Vorthak formation now resembled a swarm of panicked predators tearing themselves apart. Back on Earth, Dr. Hai Wan observed the chaos unfolding through the sensor network. "They're unraveling," she said. "Their fear response is amplifying their mistakes. Every commander is acting independently." Kim Min nodded. That's how predators lose when they stop hunting as a pack. Haiwan looked up at the display showing thousands of alien signals blinking out one by one. Do you think we'll win? Kim smiled grimly. We already have, they just don't know it yet. In space, the final phase of the operation began. The Allied fleets, Human, Kaleri, Lumen, Zakti, formed a vast encirclement around the remaining Vorthak ships. Na Young transmitted across all open channels once again, her voice broadcast not just to the Vorthak, but to every listening world. People of the galaxy, she said, you have seen the truth today. Empires fall not when they are outgunned, but when they meet those who refuse to kneel. We fight not for conquest, but for freedom, and for every world that ever called itself weak. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were cold fire. You saw our kindness and mistook it for weakness. You saw our mercy and called it fear. You were wrong. Behind her ship, thousands of human and allied vessels decloaked in perfect formation, an armada brighter than any sunrise. Emperor Vexthal watched the spectacle from his throne, and for the first time in his long reign, he felt something he had never known before. Fear. The Eternal Dominion trembled under a shockwave, as hundreds of human ships locked weapons onto its position. Na Young's voice came through again, calm and measured. Emperor Vexthal, you have one chance. Withdraw your forces and leave this system. Do this, and we will let you live. The Emperor's claws dug into his throne. And if I refuse? Na Young's tone hardened. Then you'll learn why every predator on Earth fears only one species. The silence that followed Na Young's ultimatum was heavier than gravity. Across the vastness of space, the two fleets hung motionless. 1,000 alien warships, black and gleaming like blades, facing a storm of human and allied vessels that shimmered in the sunlight. Every living being in the galaxy who could receive a transmission was watching. The live feeds had spread like wildfire. Billions saw the moment when a single human commander stared down an emperor who ruled 10,000 worlds. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Vexthal's claws dug into the armrest of his throne, gouging deep scars in the metal. The silence around him trembled like a living thing. His officers stood frozen, none dared speak. Finally, Vexthal rose to his full 9-foot height, his voice low but venomous. Open all frequencies. A comms officer obeyed instantly, hands shaking. The Emperor's image filled the screens of every ship in orbit, his 4 eyes glowing like embers. Humans, he began, his voice echoing through space. You speak as if you are our equals. You call yourselves free, but you are nothing, animals who crawl from the mud playing at gods. Na Young's image appeared beside his on the split transmission, her posture calm and her voice even. Then why do the gods look afraid, your majesty? The words hit harder than any weapon. Even through the encrypted channels, human crews heard laughter ripple across allied communications. It was small but real, hope blooming in the dark. Vexthal's eyes flared crimson. You think this is victory? You have shown me tricks and shadows. You have borrowed the strength of my former slaves. But I am eternal. My fleet is eternal. You cannot stop what I command. Na Young leaned closer to her console. We're not trying to stop you. We're trying to show you what happens when we stop holding back. In that instant, every human vessel in orbit powered up its full reactor output. The combined energy surge was so massive that even the Emperor's flagship sensors were temporarily blinded. Across the system, dormant weapons came online. The hidden arsenal humanity had sworn to keep secret since the end of its last global war. Titan Defense Network, codename Aegis Array. Each node of the array was a relic of humanity's darkest fears, orbital cannons capable of manipulating gravity wells and bending spacetime for weaponized compression blasts. They were so dangerous that Earth's own governments had banned their use. But now, those old taboos meant nothing. The array's command code appeared on the Dehan's display. Operation Apex, final authorization engaged. Admiral Sangho gave the final order, fire the Aegis. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the stars bent. A wave of gravitational distortion rippled outward, invisible to the naked eye, but strong enough to drag entire ships off course. Vorthak dreadnoughts spun out of formation, their hulls buckling under their own mass as the local gravity spiked 1,000-fold for an instant. The blasts didn't destroy, they crippled. Engines overloaded, reactors imploded, and the entire front line of the Empire's fleet disintegrated under forces they didn't understand. "Majesty," Krexel shouted, his voice breaking. "Our ships, they're falling apart. Their systems are collapsing under gravitational feedback." The Emperor's claws flexed. "What weapon is this?" "Unknown." Vexthal's mind raced. For centuries, the Vorthak had cataloged every known weapon in the galaxy. This was something new, something ancient. And then, deep in his chest, he felt something alien to his kind. Doubt. On the EDS Sol, Na Young watched the sensors with narrowed eyes. "Direct hits on 50 enemy ships," her tactical officer reported. "Collateral damage to surrounding vessels minimal." Na Young exhaled slowly. "Good, we're not here to destroy them all, we're here to make them afraid to fight." "Commander," said her Kalari liaison officer, the waterborne alien's translucent skin shimmering, "your restraint confuses me. If we had your weapons, we would burn their worlds to ash." Na Young turned to him, her voice calm. "And then what? We'd be no better than them. Fear wins wars, not genocide." Her words carried the quiet weight of conviction. Across the bridge, the Lumen ambassador pulsed softly, his voice like a harmonic chord. "You fight as predators who remember compassion. That is what terrifies them." Meanwhile, in the hidden Earth Command bunker, Dr. Hai Wan was monitoring the psychological data being transmitted from Vorthak ships. "Admiral," she said into the comm, "it's working. Their morale is disintegrating. I'm reading stress spikes in every command ship. They're experiencing collective combat shock." Sang-Ho's voice crackled through, meaning. "It means they're scared," Haiwan replied. "Truly scared. Their biology isn't built for this kind of uncertainty. They rely on hierarchy control. You've taken that away." She paused, then added softly, "They're starting to question the Emperor's infallibility." Jay Hyun, standing beside her, nodded grimly. "Then let's make sure they question it to his face." On board the Eternal Dominion, Krexel's hands shook as he turned from his console. "Majesty, our rear divisions report mutiny. Some captains are refusing orders. Others are breaking formation and fleeing." Vexthal's voice was a snarl. "Cowards, I will." But before he could finish, the ship shuddered violently. An explosion rippled through the hull. Warning klaxons howled as energy arcs burst across the deck. "What was that?" Krexel looked at his readouts in horror. "A cloaked ship just appeared behind us, a human vessel directly under our shields." "Destroy it," the Emperor roared. But before his gunners could target, the main screen flickered, and Na Young's face appeared again. She was close this time, her features calm but her eyes glacial. "Emperor Vexthal," she said softly, "this is your last chance." Vexthal's breath came out as a hiss. "You dare invade my proximity? You think your courage will save you?" Na Young leaned forward, her voice steady and cold. "No, my courage will end you." The human ship, EDS Sol, fired point-blank. Its plasma lances tore through the Dominion's upper decks, shearing away massive armor plates. Internal fires erupted. Atmosphere vented into space. Vexthal's throne room was engulfed in flame and smoke. He staggered as his ship tilted, alarms screaming. He slammed his fist onto the command panel. "All fleets fall back to defense pattern Omega. I will not." Then his words cut off as his tactical officer shouted, "Majesty, we're detecting another power surge. Inside our own ship." "What?" Krexel stared at the readings. "It's coming from the containment vault, the superweapon, the core singularity, it's activating." The Emperor's eyes widened. "Impossible, it cannot activate without my code." "Majesty," Krexel whispered, "it's triggering automatically." The color drained from Vexthal's face. "No." Deep inside the Eternal Dominion's core, a black sphere the size of a human heart floated in a cage of golden energy. It pulsed once, and space itself seemed to bend around it. The containment generators flickered, gravity warped, the ship's lights dimmed. The core singularity, the Empire's forbidden weapon, had been designed to create a microscopic black hole capable of consuming entire worlds. Its use was outlawed even by Vorthak Command, for fear it could devour the user's fleet along with the enemy. Now it was arming itself. On the Dehen, sensors screamed. "Admiral," Commander Bora shouted. "Massive gravitational spike at the Emperor's location. It's off the charts, energy readings are increasing exponentially. Sang-Ho froze. He's activating the singularity. But sir, that will destroy everything in this sector, including his own fleet. Sang-Ho's voice turned grim. Then he's willing to take us all with him. He opened a channel. All fleets fall back immediately. Keep your distance from the Dominion. The Allied armada began retreating, engines flaring as they pulled away from the growing distortion. Na Young's ship, however, stayed put. Her helmsman turned to her in panic. Commander, the gravitational field is destabilizing. We have to retreat or we'll be crushed. Na Young didn't move. Her gaze stayed fixed on the Emperor's burning flagship. Not yet, she said quietly. We can't let him detonate it. If he triggers a full collapse, Earth will be destroyed. Commander, that's suicide. Na Young's jaw tightened. Then I'll die on my feet. She activated her comm. Admiral Sang-Ho, this is Commander Na Young. I'm moving to intercept. If we can disable the containment field before it collapses, we might prevent a full detonation. Na Young, that's impossible, Sang-Ho shouted. You'll never make it out. Maybe, she said, her voice softer now, but someone has to try. On the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. The ship's structure was collapsing, gravity fluctuating wildly. Vexthal clung to the railing as sparks rained down from the ceiling. Shut it down, he screamed. Deactivate the core. Majesty, it's too late, Krexel cried. The field's destabilizing, will be pulled in. Vexthal's 4 eyes blazed with rage and despair. Then let them all burn with me. He reached toward the manual override, claws digging into the control pad, and pressed the final sequence. A deep hum filled the ship. The black sphere in the containment cage began to glow, expanding. In that same instant, Na Young's ship locked onto the Dominion. Prepare the boarding team, she ordered. We're going in. The crew stared at her. Commander, that's madness. She smiled faintly. It's called being human. The Soul's docking clamps latched onto the Dominion's hull as debris, and energy storms swirled around them. Na Young grabbed her helmet, locked it on, and stepped into the airlock. The door sealed behind her. Time to finish this. Na Young's boarding team launches into the burning corridors of the Emperor's flagship as the singularity begins to collapse. In the command center, Admiral Sang-Ho's voice crackles over the comms, filled with fear and pride. Godspeed, Na Young. And far below, the people of Earth look to the sky, watching a single streak of light as one human ship races toward the heart of a dying empire. The Eternal Dominion was dying. Flames ripped through the corridors like rivers of molten light. Bulkheads collapsed, vents screamed as pressure equalized between decks, and the air itself shimmered from gravitational distortions. The ship groaned, a wounded god bleeding energy into the void. Commander Na Young moved through the chaos with her strike team, magnetic boots locking to the deck as the floor trembled beneath them. Structural integrity's collapsing, shouted Lieutenant Rhee, gripping his rifle as sparks showered down. We have maybe 15 minutes before this ship tears itself apart. Then we'll make it count, Na Young replied, voice steady through her helmet comm. Behind them, the team carried portable gravity stabilizers, glowing cubes pulsing blue, each one keeping the floor's direction stable as the Dominion's artificial gravity twisted like a storm. Through a shattered viewport, Na Young caught glimpses of space, fragments of light, ships burning the planet Earth far below, half-lit by the glow of combat. It looked fragile from here, so small, and yet it was everything. Commander, Rhee said, his voice softening. Even if we reach the core, how do we shut it down? It's a black hole generator. We don't, Na Young said, checking her wrist scanner. We contain it. Deep inside the Dominion's central spine, Emperor Vexthal stood in the core chamber, surrounded by arcs of lightning and the scream of collapsing metal. His once-proud throne room was gone, replaced by chaos. The containment cage before him had ruptured. The black sphere at its center pulsed faster now, stretching space around it, devouring light itself. His first commander, Krexel, clung to a console that sparked violently. Majesty, the containment is breaking if we don't shut it down now. Silence, Vexthal roared. I will not be remembered as the emperor who fled from humans. Krexel's voice trembled. Majesty, if we stay, the core will consume us all. Then we die as gods, the emperor bellowed. The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. Outside, human and allied fleets struggled to hold formation as gravitational shockwaves rippled outward. On the EDS Dehan, Admiral Sangho gripped the edge of the command table, watching the Dominion's readings spike out of control. "Sir," said Commander Bora, "the singularity's expanding. It's already destabilizing subspace in this sector. If it collapses completely, it'll pull half the solar system into the void." Sangho didn't answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on a single green marker moving closer to the Dominion's coordinates, the Sol. "She's inside," he whispered. Bora turned toward him. "Sir." "Na young," Sangho said softly. "She made it aboard." Bora's expression darkened. "Then she's walking into a black hole." "Not if she stops it first." Inside the Dominion's core chamber, Na Young and her team emerged from the smoke. They found themselves on a narrow platform suspended over a swirling abyss of distorted light. The gravitational field bent everything around them, even sound warped, voices stretching and echoing strangely. Ree pointed upward. "Commander, that's it." At the center of the chamber floated the core singularity, a pulsing orb of darkness surrounded by golden rings of energy. It was beautiful and terrible at once, a star in reverse, collapsing everything it touched. And standing before it, framed by flame and shadow, was Emperor Vexthal himself. He turned as they entered, his scaled armor glowing red from reflected light. 4 crimson eyes locked onto Na Young. "Human," he hissed, "the child who dares stand before gods." Na Young didn't flinch. She raised her weapon but didn't fire. "You're not a god," she said quietly. "You're just afraid of dying like the rest of us." Vexthal bared his fangs. "Afraid? I have conquered 10,000 worlds. I have slaughtered billions. My name reshapes civilizations." Na Young took a step forward. "Then die knowing one small planet beat you." He lunged. Vexthal moved faster than expected for his size, claws slicing through the air. Na Young ducked, rolled beneath him, and fired, plasma bolts tearing across his armor. The blast scorched but didn't pierce. Ree and the others opened fire from both flanks. Energy filled the air like lightning. Vexthal roared and swiped his arm, sending a shockwave of telekinetic force that threw 2 soldiers into the walls. The platform groaned as cracks spiderwebbed across its surface. Na Young shouted, "Keep him busy, I'll get to the core." She sprinted toward the containment field. The closer she got, the heavier everything felt, like running through invisible syrup. Her suit's servos whined as the gravitational pressure increased. "Commander," Ree shouted, firing at the Emperor. "You can't get near it, it'll tear you apart." Na Young gritted her teeth. "We don't have a choice." She reached the control terminal, half destroyed, sparks leaping across its surface. Holographic runes scrolled in alien script. She tried inputting commands, but the interface resisted human touch. Then she remembered the Emperor's words. "The core cannot activate without my code." She turned back toward him. "You said it needs your code," she called out. "Then you'll help me shut it down." Vexthal's laughter echoed through the chamber, distorted and deep. "You think I would help the insects who defied me?" "No," Na Young said. "I think you'll help because you don't want to die." For a moment, the Emperor hesitated, a flicker of doubt in his burning eyes. But then he roared, "If I die, I take your world with me." He slammed his clawed hand onto a nearby console. The containment rings flared bright. The core expanded violently, growing from the size of a fist to that of a man. "Commander," Ree screamed, "it's breaching containment." Na Young stared at the expanding sphere. Her voice was calm but sad. "Then we end it here." From the Dehan, Admiral Sangho watched the readings spike off the scale. "Singularity expansion accelerating," Bora shouted. "We've got seconds before total collapse." Sangho clenched his fists. "No, not yet, not while she's still in there." Inside the Dominion, Na Young made her choice. She pulled a cylindrical device from her belt, a fold stabilizer, one of humanity's newest experimental technologies. It could manipulate localized gravity fields for transport, but only once and never safely inside a black hole. She placed it on the terminal. "Lieutenant," she said over comms, "fall back, that's an order." Ree's voice cracked. "Commander." "That's an order." He hesitated, then saluted. "Yes, ma'am." Na Young faced the Emperor one last time. You wanted to be eternal, she said. Let's make that true. She triggered the stabilizer. The device pulsed with a blinding blue light. The core responded instantly, absorbing the energy, twisting it inward. Space folded in on itself. The gravity wave hit like a hurricane. Everything bent, sound, light, matter. The Emperor's roar was the last thing she heard before the world went white. Outside, every ship in the solar system felt it. A shockwave of energy rippled outward, pushing debris and shattered vessels aside. The Eternal Dominion imploded silently, folding into a pinpoint of light that winked out, gone, erased from existence. Then came silence. The gravitational storm faded, the scanners cleared, the singularity was gone. On the Dehen, Commander Bora whispered, "It's over." But Admiral Sangho didn't smile. His eyes were fixed on the empty coordinates where Na Young's ship had been. "Get me her signal," he said softly. "Sir, there's nothing." He stood there for a long time, saying nothing. Then he nodded once slowly. Then she did it. Hours passed. The surviving Vorthak ships scattered, fleeing into hyperspace. The Allied fleets moved to secure the area. Across the galaxy, messages of disbelief and awe poured in. The invincible Vorthak Empire defeated. But Earth did not celebrate immediately. Its people watched the skis, waiting for confirmation of the one name that had led them to victory. In the global command bunker, Dr. Haiwan delivered the final analysis. The singularity collapsed into a self-contained fold, she explained. It didn't explode. She redirected it, turned a black hole into a closed space-time pocket. Jay Hyun frowned. "You're saying she contained it?" Haiwan nodded. "Yes, but she's gone. There's no way to recover someone from a fold that deep." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Jay said quietly, "She saved the world." Haiwan's voice trembled, and Jay finished for her, saved the galaxy from her. In orbit, the surviving human fleet regrouped. Ships drifted silently as rescue teams searched for survivors. Admiral Sangho stood at the viewport, the light of distant stars reflecting in his tired eyes. "Commander Na Young," he said quietly, "you showed them who we are, not monsters, not prey, just human." He turned to his crew. "Transmit to all frequencies. Let the galaxy hear this." The comms officer nodded. "Ready, sir." Sangho spoke clearly, his voice carrying across the stars. "To every world that watched today, know this. Humanity does not seek conquest. We do not rule through fear. But if you threaten our home, our families, our allies, then you will learn what it means when humanity stops holding back." In the void where the Eternal Dominion once stood, a faint ripple disturbed the darkness. A spark of blue light flickering, then vanishing again. No one noticed. Not yet. The war is over. The Emperor is dead. Humanity stands victorious, but at the cost of one of its finest. And deep within the collapsed fold, something stirs. A heartbeat. The war was over. In the cold silence that followed the last explosion, space itself seemed to take a breath. The wreckage of two empires drifted in quiet formation, twisted hulls, shattered weapons, and broken symbols of power spinning slowly under the pale light of the sun. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the Vorthak Empire had lost. And it was humanity, the primitive species from a blue world on the edge of the galaxy, that had done the impossible. From the bridge of the EDS Dehen, Admiral Sangho watched as the last Vorthak vessels fled through the warp corridor, vanishing into streaks of blue light. The once mighty fleet was in ruins, crippled, terrified, and leaderless. He didn't speak for a long time. His officers were silent, waiting for him to say the words they all wanted to hear. Finally, Sangho turned from the viewport. "Signal every fleet," he said softly. "Operation Apex is complete." There was no cheer, only a quiet murmur that spread through the decks like a wave. Soldiers and officers lowered their heads, some in exhaustion, others in disbelief. For decades, they had feared the day the Vorthak would come. Now that it was over, the victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt like survival. On the surface of Earth, the first dawn after the war painted the horizon gold. In Seoul, Lieutenant Yejin stood on a rooftop, still wearing her scorched combat armor. Around her, the city was scarred but standing. Smoke rose from distant ruins, but birds were singing again. She looked up at the morning sky and whispered, "You did it, Commander." Beside her, Major Kim Min limped forward, his leg wrapped in field bandages. "She didn't just do it," he said quietly. "She showed us who we were supposed to be." Yajin nodded, blinking back tears. "Do you think she's really gone?" Kim didn't answer immediately. He looked up at the stars. "People like her don't disappear," he said finally. "They become stories, and stories, they never die." In the global command bunker, Dr. Hai Wan stood before the Council of World Leaders and Allied Representatives. Holograms of human and alien commanders surrounded the room. The war had united species that had never spoken before. "The Vorthak fleets are retreating to their outer colonies," Hai Wan said. "But they've fractured. Some factions are surrendering, others are fighting among themselves." An alien ambassador, a tall, water-skinned Kaleri, bowed his head. "You have done what no empire ever dared. You have shown that compassion can be stronger than fear." Hai Wan smiled faintly. "We only did what humans always do when backed into a corner." "And what is that?" asked the Kaleri. She met his gaze. "We adapt, we learn, and then we fight back." Above Earth, the Allied fleets gathered in orbit, hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds, flying under a single banner, the Earth Defense Coalition. Where once there had been suspicion, there was now trust. Humanity had proven it could lead not by dominance, but by cooperation. The Zakti swarms broadcast a signal of allegiance. The Lumen fleets aligned their energy networks with human communication relays, and the Kaleri offered a gift, a technology exchange that would allow Earth to rebuild faster than ever. Admiral Sangho stood before a hollow transmission, addressing all Allied commanders. "Today," he said, "marks the end of the Vorthak Empire, but it's not the end of the war for survival. It's the beginning of something greater, a new order built not on fear, but on respect. Humanity will not rule this alliance. We will protect it, together." The alien representatives nodded. Even the Zakti swarm leader, whose kind had once seen all outsiders as food, clicked its mandibles in agreement. But while the galaxy celebrated, one man could not rest. Sangho stood alone in his quarters, staring at a small hollow image of Commander Na Young. The soft blue light illuminated his face. She was smiling in the photo, not like a soldier but like a human. He whispered, "You were right. We didn't win by being stronger. We won by being who we are." He closed the hologram and looked out the viewport. The space where the eternal dominion had vanished was still faintly glowing, a distortion in the stars. Sometimes, when he stared long enough, he could almost hear her voice. Far away, in a place beyond stars and time, Na Young opened her eyes. At first, she thought she was dreaming. The world around her was made of shifting light and shadow, endless and silent. There was no up or down, only the feeling of floating, of existing between moments. She reached out, and her hand left ripples in the air, like water. "Where am I?" she whispered. Then a voice answered, deep, resonant, and familiar. "You are inside what was once the core singularity." Na Young turned. A figure stood before her, a shimmering projection of energy, faintly humanoid but transparent, its form pulsing with slow light. "Emperor Vexthal," she said quietly. The figure inclined its head. "What remains of him?" it said. "You trapped me here, human, in this cage outside reality." Na Young stepped closer. "You were going to destroy my planet. And yet you joined me in death." She shook her head. "Not death, consequence." For a long time, the two stood in silence, surrounded by swirling blue light. Finally, the Emperor spoke again. "I never understood your species," he said softly. "You kill, yet call it mercy. You destroy, yet claim compassion. You are predators who mourn your prey." Na Young looked up. "Maybe that's what makes us human. We feel everything, even when it hurts." Vexthal tilted his head. "And what will you do now, trapped with your enemy?" Na Young smiled faintly. "Same thing we've always done, survive." Back in the galaxy, months passed. The Earth Defense Coalition expanded its reach, securing the solar system and establishing outposts on Mars, Titan, and beyond. Humanity had gone from a single vulnerable planet to the heart of a galactic alliance. The very species once dismissed as adorable had become the symbol of resistance across the stars. News networks replayed Na Young's final transmission, the calm defiance in her voice echoing across worlds. "You saw our kindness and mistook it for weakness. You were wrong." Those words became the anthem of a new age. At the Galactic Council Station, rebuilt after centuries of neglect, a new banner hung among the stars, a deep blue flag bearing the symbol of Earth surrounded by 12 other sigils. Ambassador Hai Wan stood before the assembled representatives. Her voice carried across the hall. Today, she said, marks the birth of the galactic conquered of free worlds. Humanity stands not as conquerors, but as guardians. We have learned that peace is not the absence of war, but the refusal to surrender to fear. The applause that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. Later on the moon, a small memorial was built overlooking the Earth. A single statue, a woman in uniform, helmet under one arm, gaze turned toward the stars. Beneath her name, the inscription read, Commander Na Young. She taught us that mercy is not weakness, and survival is not surrender. At night, the memorial shone softly under lunar light, visible even from Earth as a faint, glimmering point, a reminder that one person could change the fate of a world. But the story didn't end there. 1 year after the war, a deep space probe passing near the coordinates of the former Eternal Dominion recorded an anomaly, a faint energy pulse, rhythmic and steady, like a heartbeat. It repeated 3 times, then stopped. Scientists dismissed it as an echo, a residual fold reaction. Admiral Sangho didn't. He stood before the recording for hours, watching that tiny pulse flicker across the display. When it ended, he whispered one sentence that only the stars could hear. Welcome home, Commander. And far beyond the veil of normal space, in a place where light and time twisted like threads of silk, Na Young felt warmth on her skin. She looked up. For the first time in eternity, she saw a familiar color, blue. Earthlight. She smiled. The galaxy never forgot the lesson of Earth. Every academy taught the same story, how a small, divided species had faced the greatest empire in existence and refused to break. Not through cruelty, not through hatred, but through endurance, unity, and the will to protect what was theirs. The historians called it the Apex Revolution. The soldiers called it the Long Hunt. But to humanity, it was known by a simpler name. The day we stopped holding back.